Hi everyone, it's Ash from FPL Hints, here to discuss team selection and best Saka replacements for Game Week 18. As always, if you're able to like, share and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. So before we get into it, a quick check-in with how Game Week 17 went for me, a reminder of the state of play with the Premier League table, and then we'll look at what the best Saka replacements are with the trending players. So first of all, Game Week 17 just about scored above the average, 5 million rank. And with hindsight, that was actually a really bad score because you saw across social media quite a few managers scored over 100, over 90, over 80. So despite it being over the average, it wasn't great for my FPL rank, and it basically wasn't enough for me to keep my place in the FPL Cup. In the end, David Raya brought him in for a hit a couple of game weeks back because I thought Gabriel wouldn't play. Gabriel did play, and yeah, just got 9 points from him over the past 2 game weeks. Probably more than what well, on the whole, like it's been a fail because I'm not getting bang for buck. And then the defense has been absolutely useless for me for a second game week in a row now. Had Robertson when he got his red card, and then that obviously suspension got expunged as a result of the League Cup match. I had Ait Nuri with negative points, and then this time around, Pedro Porro negative points, Lewis with nothing at all. So from the defense itself, like what, 3 net points from 4 players? It's been, yeah, complete waste and a complete failure. So I need to address the defense at some point. Despite that being on paper, the Liverpool defensive asset, an out of position Man City defender, an attacking Spurs defensive asset, it's just been, yeah, not matching up to expectation. And really, this was the Mohamed Salah masterclass. 42 out of my 62 points, 2/3 of the points were scored by the Egyptian King. Had I captained anyone else, it would have been, well, a very dark red arrow. And Saka, Fernandez, Palmer, across the board, 3 popular picks, 6 points apiece isn't good enough. And then Pedro Porro, he's been a basic fail for me since I bought him. Cunha, oddly enough, someone who kind of went off the radar when I bought him. He's gradually picked up form now, 18 points in his past 2 games. But really, what sunk me was getting in Raul Jimenez. I went to watch him, and annoyingly, he didn't start, and he got a yellow card. And what I could have done was I had to sell Danny Welbeck. If I waited, I would have basically had Rodgers as an auto sub. That would have tipped my score into being a healthier overall rank for the game week. And then randomly, Ramsdale, he started against Fulham and somehow kept a clean sheet against that Fulham team. There's just no end product for Fulham for the first hour. Could have been different if Raul Jimenez started. But yes, Southampton somehow kept a clean sheet. And then, annoyingly for me, 24 points on the bench was, yeah, a bit of a bloody nose. And then got Ait Nuri, who obviously was suspended, and Wolves kept a clean sheet. So, a bit annoyed considering I've had him all this time and he's not really done much. So, on the whole, it wasn't a great game week 17. In fact, the past few game weeks haven't been that great as well. My rank from being about 100k or so has completely nosedived. Haven't looked at it, don't want to look at it. Hopefully I can wrestle it back during this festive period. So just a quick reminder of the table now. Liverpool are now unbeaten in 6 matches. They dropped points 2 matches back in a row. And in seasons gone by, when you've got City after them, that could have been calamitous. But then luckily for them, didn't really make a difference. Chelsea dropped points in game week um, 17, but in their case, again, they had won their previous 5 matches, and now they're up to second, 4 points behind Liverpool, but Liverpool have that game in hand. Same with Arsenal, almost identical record to Liverpool in the past 6 matches, and in their case, they've they could have done better in some respects, but the Saka injury is really going to test them more so than ever before. He's out for a good number of weeks. Some have speculated as won't be back as late as February. You've got Nottingham Forest in 4th place on Christmas Day, which is, I'd say, yeah, they had those reasonable fixtures at the start, but they've been managed superbly. Chris Wood's bailed them out. Defensively, been very strong. And to my annoyance, I haven't owned a single Nottingham Forest player from the get-go. I wanted to potentially get their goalkeeper at the start, but then there was a debate on who would start. So I basically avoided them. I think Aina was an option at one point as a cheap 5th defender. Avoided him. And yeah, Chris Wood, I kind of felt that I had options at hand. I think I had Welbeck and Vardy when they were scoring. So didn't really need him, but fair play if you own Chris Wood. And you got Bournemouth, didn't even expect them up in 5th there with their stupendous run of form of late, with 4 wins in 5. You've got Aston Villa, who've had a reasonable season, considering that they've also been playing Champions League football as well. That's a very healthy place in the table. You've got City in 7th, absolute disaster class for them. 4 losses in the last 6, and then you look at the record beyond that, it's just unacceptable. Newcastle, 2 wins in the last 2, 8th place. Kind of feel that they've underperformed in some respects. Got Fulham, the draw masters, 4 wins in their last 5, and I think they've kind of tailed off in some respects, but no doubt they could bounce back with upcoming fixtures. With Brighton, it's been a complete mixed bag. You don't know what to expect with them, and the goal difference speaks volumes, that they've just conceded more than they really should have. And you've got Spurs, who've also conceded almost similar number of goals to Brighton, but then outscoring their opponents in many matches. But really, it's been mixed for Spurs as well. And then with Brentford, the curious case of Brentford, amazing at home, not so good away. Scored a lot of goals, but they're conceding a lot of goals as well. So, yeah, with them, it's been a mixed bag. And then United, with the new manager, Amorim, they've kind of been mixed of late as well, struggling to score goals, albeit at home it's been a different bag at times, and got West Ham 14th place. And then quietly, interesting enough for Everton, what's interesting for them is that of late they've kept quite a few clean sheets, and they just haven't been scoring. Same with Crystal Palace as well, that the transfers that took place really adversely affected them. And then looking at the relegation zone, in Southampton, 6 points, somehow kept a clean sheet against Fulham. And you got Ipswich, Wolves, and Leicester, who are really fighting it among themselves to see who basically is going to survive. And with Ipswich, 4 losses in the last 5 simply isn't good enough. And then with Wolves, finally got a win in their past 5 matches. And then, with Leicester, with Ruud van Nistelrooy, just been conceded far too many goals. So it kind of feels as if the bottom 4 is almost becoming static. And then you look at the top of the table, it's hard to say who's really going to chase down Liverpool in this title race now, with that game in hand as well. So there we have it. That's the state of play. Just quick check in with the bus team, and I'll go straight into the Saka replacement. So I've got David Raya against Ipswich, and Saka could have really have been a differential captain as well for those who are going to lump on Mohamed Salah on Boxing Day with Liverpool playing Leicester. On the whole, I obviously start Robertson, reluctantly start Lewis against Everton, and then you got Pedro Porro against Nottingham Forest. So on paper, I'd say on paper, it's been disastrous for the past 2 weeks, but hopefully the defence can score a bit this time around. Captain is locked in on Mohamed Salah. When he's basically scoring points for fun, he's almost like destroying the game as it is right now. Look at his double-digit hauls in game week 13, in 14, in 17, in 12, 11. You could literally just leave the captaincy on him now for the remainder of the season, unless you're looking to basically go against him and take risks. So I think he's a lock in for the captaincy now that Saka is out altogether for a good number of weeks. Got Fernandes against Wolves, and yeah, Palmer, who with him, you could make a case for him on captaincy, but his form has been a lot more patchy. 2 double-digit hauls now in the past 6 matches. And then you've got Mohamed Salah. Of course, you'd face, fancy Mohamed Salah in that instance. Onto the forward line, João Pedro, got Brentford at home, so hopefully opportunity to get involved in a goal or two there. Cunha for United at home, and they got Raul, Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And then looking at my defence, the bench, beg your pardon, Greaves, who is a bit of a no-show, got Ait Nouri, probably promote him up the batting order as a sub-2 perhaps, but I'd fancy basically United to score against Wolves. Ramsdale, is he now an option as a goalkeeper? Was that a one-off? There might be instances where I could potentially start him, but really, I'd rather have David Raya, to be honest with you. I think the Fulham match was a complete fluke. I can't see many other clean sheets in the matches ahead. And there were times when I could have potentially have sold him and had like 3 free transfers at hand. But yeah, Ramsdale will remain basically the sub goalie for me, unless I replace David Raya at some point. But needed defensive Arsenal cover, and I won't be replacing him anytime soon. So that is the state of play as it stands. So I've got a big hole to fill, with Saka now being unavailable for a good number of weeks. So let's just look at the trending players first of all, and just talk through basically each of them. So yeah, Diaz, 7.5 million, and I'd unlock funds as well. And it really depends what you want with Saka. If you're basically looking to unlock funds, and you look at these budget plus midfielders, or you'd look to spend a bit more for a like-for-like price replacement. With Diaz in particular, he's finally found a bit of form. That's 2 goals and an assist in his past 4 games. But then you look further down, the form was considerably more patchier, and he was getting rotated a fair bit as well from game week 7, game week 6 onwards. But then you look at earlier on in the season, game week 2 to game week 5, just getting double-digit hauls for fun. So the question now remains, I mean, one thing I will call out on Diaz, his minutes will be heavily managed. Just look at this. He's hardly getting full matches, albeit until recently he is. So that is a cause for concern, the managed minutes. But then you do know that he's got that double-digit haul in him as well. And the fixtures in the next 3 or 4 look fairly favourable. So I think he is an option potentially, then having that double up with Liverpool. But then is that the way forward? And you look at Spurs, got Maddison. Fixtures, I'd say, are a bit more mixed. But then quietly, he's been chipping in with a few points here and there. But the biggest issue with him as well, more of an issue, is managed minutes. Didn't even hit the hour mark against Liverpool. He's got a cameo appearance against Chelsea. I believe that was a midweek game. But then Wednesday played a full match for Spurs this season. And you go all the way down, he's not played a full match at all. But 8 goals and 5 assists, with all things considered, I think that is fairly decent. And you've got Rodgers, who I've got, who basically, when he hauls, he's my sub. When he blanks, I start him. If you've not jumped onto him, you want to unlock funds, you've got 2 free transfers, you want to upgrade one of your forwards as well, I think he is the way to go. He's basically a set and forget sub 1 now for the remainder of the season. And is it too late to buy him? 20% owned, it might be, but yeah, he's an option as well. See Mohamed Salah's trending as well. You look at the ownership levels, I think his ownership is super high anyway, 66%, considering that Haaland at one point last year was 80% plus. So yeah, I mean, I'm assuming most of you have him anyway. Got Palmer, good like-for-like replacement if you want to unlock funds. But as I've discussed earlier with him, he's not consistently getting double-digit hauls, but more often than not, when Chelsea score, he's involved. And Amad Diallo, who of late was picking up a few returns here and there, and then you look at the fixtures as well: Wolves, Newcastle, Liverpool. I think he could be an alternative for like that Rodgers fifth midfielder sub one option, but yeah, not as a Saka replacement. You've got Mbumo, who on the face of it, the fixtures are getting mixed, but you look at the home fixtures in particular: Arsenal at home, City, and you've got Liverpool. And in fairness, Brentford do have one of the better home records, but then with those matches in particular, and then you've got the away matches, the only reasonable match he was going to have in the next 5 is Southampton away, perhaps. Probably isn't worth it. And you've probably missed out on the Abumo train with all the points that he's locked in. You've got Bruno Fernandes. A big plus with him is he is ex-min safe, as we can see, that he very rarely gets subbed off this season, any season in fact, and he's obviously got that penalty prowess as well. Wolves away, Newcastle home, Liverpool away, Southampton at home in the next 4. I think could be an option if you want to unlock funds, but I think, as I've mentioned, there are better options at hand. Kulusevski as a differential for Spurs. It's quietly picked up 22 points now in his past 3 games and started all 3 as well. Fixtures probably mixed, but he is an option. You've got Son, who is the like-for-like price replacement, but then the minutes have been a bit wonky for him in the past 4 game weeks. So I think I really wouldn't want to get Son in just due to the minutes issue there at Spurs. And then we talked for like replacement in some ways, but then does Odegaard fill the void in some respects for Arsenal if Saka is out? We can see that the issue with Odegaard in particular is that he's literally just got that 1 goal in the past 5 matches, and this has been a real quiet season for him. 1 goal and 2 assists, whereas last year 8 goals and 11 assists. So could be a differential, but it just remains to be seen if he is going to benefit from an attacking perspective. 6.6% owned. I personally wouldn't get Odegaard in. You got Kluivert, 5.5 million. It's quietly chipping in with the returns, albeit it's been a bit more mixed for him. Double-digit haul, a few blanks, and then he's chipped in with another goal involvement there. I think Martinelli could be an interesting one as well for Arsenal. That with him, he's more or less been starting most of the matches in the past few game weeks, but then rotation is a big risk for him. 4 goals in 2, had 6 and 5 last season. Considering he's had the managed minutes, it actually isn't too bad for him. So yeah, he could be an option as well. I think someone who's been completely overlooked, and there he is, Phil Foden, 9.1 million. So price-wise, a like-for-like replacement. Generous fixtures on paper with Everton, Leicester, and West Ham. And look at him. Obviously, he's had fitness issues, which has made him unavailable at times this season. Yeah, 1 goal and 1 assist isn't really that good. But if you're looking for the upside and you're looking for City to turn a corner, I think that Phil Foden could be a big differential for you. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You're getting a player who's less than 5% owned. You'll unlock a few cash in the bank by getting him in place of Saka. And yeah, is it a risk? It is, but then what have you got to lose? He is, I'd say, on the differential side of things. Obviously, I think Diaz might be the safer pick, but at 9.1 million, with what he's capable of and the upside, I think Phil Foden is on the other side of the spectrum there. I think Gerard Bowen, 7.5 million. Fixtures are going to get trickier after Southampton, but he's also an option. He's picked up 20 points in his last 2 games. And then look at the goals and assists: 4 goals, 6 assists. whereas last year he got 16 goals and 6 assists, so in some ways isn't matching those levels. And just going further down, all the way down, I think Gordon as an option. If you've missed out on the Isak train, the fixtures are going to get trickier for him with Villa, United and Spurs. Jota, he's on the radar for some as well, but hasn't really been getting starts. I think he's not even a differential option for me at the moment. And De Bruyne, fitness permitting, could be an option, but he missed the Aston Villa match. He started the 3 matches before that, getting 22 points, but again, he's not really on the radar for me as well. I think we've reached the point of no return. There we go. The Saka transfers stop at that point. Just a shout out to Iwobi as well, 5.8 million, but yeah, can't really justify him. So just to conclude there with the options available, if you said to me who is the best Saka replacement, the safest Saka replacement, I'd have to say it is Luis Diaz. So you'd unlock funds there as well. I think what you could do, I think, with some who want to get attacking Arsenal cover as well, if you're looking to take a hit, you could potentially sell one of your budget forwards and then upgrade that budget forward to Gabriel Jesus. I've got no doubt that Jesus will get more minutes during this festive period and beyond until Saka's back, perhaps, considering he scored, 5 goals in his past 2 competitive matches. So upgrade your budget forward for Jesus, and then you basically get Saka out for Luis Diaz. I think that is a real option for many. So I think that would be the way forwards. Are there any other attacking Arsenal assets I'd consider? I think could Havertz be an option? I don't think he is, for the time being at least. If Jesus is scoring goals for fun, it'll be really problematic for Arteta to then take him out of the team. So I think Jesus, is he a differential? 5.1%? Of course he is. There is that risk element involved as well. He could easily be benched in one of the upcoming games. So I think even for some managers, they could potentially go to from Saka to Diaz, and with their leftover funds, if they have any, could even upgrade one of the budget forwards for Isak as well. So I think that's an option. Duran, wouldn't consider him as a forward option. Cunha, there's that ban looming over him, and kind of gutted it didn't happen ahead of game week 17, because then I would have basically cashed in on the Rodgers points. So yeah, he's due to be banned soon. So I'd need to eventually resolve that situation. Am I going to sell him ahead of the United match? Absolutely not. I'm going to wait until the ban gets locked in, due to what happened to him in game week 16, of course. Jackson, again, with the unlocked funds and then getting the Saka replacement, yeah, he could be an option as well. So yeah, on the whole, when it comes to the midfield, I'd say whilst there seem to be a lot of trending players and players that could be considered, in some ways, if you're playing it safe, you'd go for Diaz, and then if you want to go for a differential, you could literally pick any of these players here. I think the annoying thing with the Spurs assets are that there's a lot of rotation despite the attacking prowess. And if you're just literally playing for fixtures and the upside, you're ultimately looking at the Man City asset. Well, it's not assets, Foden really. Yeah, beyond that, it kind of seems like a free-for-all. So there you have it. That is my look at game week 18 and the festive period. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Who is the best Saka replacement? Is it Diaz? Is it someone else? And as always, if you're able to like, share, and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best.